All right, so as we discussed, the first topic we're going to cover is where to have your watch party. So a lot of our groups have established locations where they're hosting their watch parties, but in case you're looking for that place for the first time, or maybe you're trying to switch it up and look for something different, you want to focus on something that's centrally located. Where do the most of your alumni live? Where they focus? Where it's easy for them to get to on the weekends or whenever you're having your watch parties? In case you didn't know, you are welcome to ask your staff liaison here, whether it be me or Molly or Jason or Stephanie, to send you a heat map. We can actually look up where a majority of your alumni live within your area, so you can see, oh, a lot of them are over in this neighborhood. That's probably where we should host a watch party. So we're happy to do that for you. And I mean, that's helpful for a watch party, but it's also helpful for a lot of different events. You want to look for a location that's not going to charge you to rent that space out, or that doesn't make you have a food or beverage minimum. I know that sometimes that's not a possibility, and to get the location or the area that you want or a fun atmosphere, some of those things come into play. But if it all costs you can avoid those things, it helps you lower the cost to your chapter when you're having these watch parties. Also, make sure that whenever you're finding a location, they're actually prominently displaying the game. Make sure they have the channel that game's going to be on. Sometimes we get put onto weird channels, or you're conflicting with another prominent team that's in your area. So make sure they're willing to play the games and that they're willing to let you have sound on. That has happened before where there's a watch party and the game's playing, but you can't hear it. So make sure they're also willing to turn on the audio for your game.
And so let's talk a little bit about when you should have watch parties, or should you host a watch party for every game of football season? We would answer probably not. Even our chapters who have long-standing relationships with a restaurant or bar in their city don't necessarily host a watch party every single game, even though the game might be on at that location. So we think it's best to focus maybe 1, 2, 3 games each season, for football in particular. Really also consider if you're an in-state chapter, and your alumni may be traveling to Columbia for games. So in-state chapters, it may be best to consider those away games to have your watch parties for. So start with just a couple, and as the slide says here, you can always add games if the season is going really well or people seem really into it. We can help you promote that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a second.
All right, so how to host, just a basic first steps you should take when you're hosting a watch party. Make sure that you request a watch party kit from us at the beginning of the season. We are happy to send you a kit that's full of freebies and swag to give away at your events, decorations, football posters. We've got plenty of that stuff. And if you'll let us know before the season, we can actually send you a kit that should last you throughout the season based on the number of games that you're going to have and the number of alumni that come to your watch parties. That way we don't have to send you one before every game. We can just send you one at the beginning. You want to make sure that you have at least one volunteer from your organization there, not only just to, be there and help make sure that everything's set up, but also to host this event like you would host any other event. I know that a lot of watch parties are a little more laid back, a little more casual, but it is still an opportunity to meet people, to make sure that your guests feel welcome. A watch party might be the first thing that a new alumni or a young alumni in your area tries to go to. So making a really good first impression there and welcoming them, making sure that they are excited about the chapter and make that connection is really important. So you want to make sure there's someone there that can actively be doing that. And then also use opportunities when there is breaks in play, not, exciting breaks when you're trying to figure out if something's going to be recalled, but different timeouts and halftime to talk about chapter announcements, upcoming events that you're going to have, and make that connection again to the people that have chosen to spend their watch party time with you, because we know that people can watch watch these games at their home in the comfort of their own homes, but they're wanting the experience of being involved with other alumni, and that's what you provide.
So a few best practices, like I said, we are certainly happy to help promote your watch parties via email. The latest, please let us know as soon as you can if you decide to have a watch party for a particular game, but the latest we need to know, or that you can let us know, is by 9 a.m. on Monday, the week of the game. So as you may know, we usually know game time about 10 days out. We try to share that with our chapter leaders once we have heard game time, so that you can plan accordingly. For chapters that have very regular watch parties, we do stick to kind of a schedule of only promoting that week, because otherwise it kind of just gets backed up and clunky in our system. And so if you only have one or two, though, we're certainly happy to promote it a couple weeks in advance. We just typically don't promote watch parties quite as far in advance as we do other chapter events. Another thing to consider, as Morgan was talking about with hosting, if you're going to be the point person, the host for your chapter for a watch party, make sure you arrive a little early just to get set up, put some giveaways and decorations out, and be there to welcome people when they arrive. We'd also really appreciate if you could keep an attendance list, or kind of have like a check-in table that you could then send to your MAA liaison. I think that will help both your organization and MAA in general in the long run, because we can start keeping track, even if it's just a watch party, but keeping track of perhaps members and non-members, and getting an idea of non-members who are attending your events regularly. Then we can help you follow up with them to get them to become MAA members. Just one example, but I think in the long run it will really help us to have attendance lists. If that's something you can do, that would be great.
All right, and last thing we want to formally talk about is ways to maximize the Mizzou spirit of your event. Like I said, a watch party can be very laid back. We all know that we're here to watch the game, but just to find a few different ways to make it stand out and make it as Mizzou as possible. So some chapters will host watch parties at locations that are willing to share proceeds with them for their scholarship fund. So if this hasn't been something that you've thought about with the place where you normally host watch parties, or when you're seeking out that place for the first time, maybe ask if they're willing to share proceeds, maybe on a certain item on their menu, or for what your party brings in, because they're benefiting from you bringing all these people to their location, and letting them know that they could give a little bit back to your scholarship fund, not just to the chapter for you guys to have fun, but also just for your scholarships. We have found that some locations are willing to do that. Next, another thing you can add is a member-only drawing. And this is a way to incorporate membership into your watch party. So maybe having a few giveaway items, some Mizzou swag that you can raffle off at halftime if people show you their membership card or show you their membership on their app. And maybe if you get someone to join at your watch party, they can enter the drawing 2 different times if they decide to join. That way that you are tying it back to the chapter, you're reminding people that membership is what makes it possible for you to host these type of events. So it's a really fun and easy way to do that and to support membership.
A couple different examples on finding something that distinguishes your watch parties. So Houston, Texas Tigers, for example, they host watch parties regularly and have a marching Mizzou alum who's part of their chapter, and he will bring his trombone and play the fight song at halftime and stuff like that. Another chapter, LAOC, was finding that having watch parties just at kind of regular restaurant bar locations wasn't working for them, but for them, having an alum host it in their home actually does bring a bigger crowd. And so they'll watch it in the backyard on a big screen TV on the patio, and they've seen some real success with that. So just like many of your other chapter events, think about things that are important to your community, or that kind of work well with your community, with the alumni in your area, and make your watch party work for you. Finally, find out what kind of branding and decorations you're allowed to put up. Of course, we always send y'all pop-ups and palms to put on tables, but if they're willing to put up a Mizzou flag and keep it up all season somewhere in the restaurant or bar, that's fantastic. So we just think the more Mizzou, the better, and see what the location is willing to put up for you.
All right, so of course, if you want to put some questions into the chat, now would be a great time to do so, and we're happy to answer that.
I think one question we've had is about how watch parties can fit into your columns and capstone worksheet planning for the year. So of course, on that worksheet, there are a couple boxes for watch parties, but that's not the only place it can fit. Just like many other alumni events, that you can make the worksheet work for you and kind of make it fit in a number of different areas. So maybe you have a homecoming watch party or a Founders Day watch party during basketball season, and you make it count it for a celebrating a Mizzou tradition. You could also just have it count as an alumni engagement event, an event to support Mizzou athletics. Just like every other event, it can't count twice on the worksheet, but you can certainly make it fit in a number of different categories on your columns capstone worksheet. So keep that in mind if you are planning multiple watch parties throughout the year. Okay, I think we're gonna unmute you all if you also want to ask any questions
Out loud.
out loud. Yeah.
Oh, great. Oh, that was fun.
Oh, there we go. I think it was me. I'm sorry about that.
All right, so most of you guys should be unmuted. I think that you might have to unmute yourself a little bit. I'm sorry if anyone is trying to actively talk and cannot. Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask? Make sure that the microphones on your computers or tablets or phones are enabled with the app.
Well, if not, that's okay too. You certainly know how to get into contact with us and with your liaison. If it's not myself or
Oh.
So please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Be sure to let us know as soon as you can when you're planning watch parties for the season, and we will help promote those and get some activity boxes in the mail to you. Like Morgan said earlier, we try to get you prepared for most of the season, if not all. We can always replenish if you run out toward the end of the season. But thank you everybody for joining us this evening. Super grateful to work with you all, and have a good evening.